Good day, my dear ones. It is certainly always a pleasure to come and sit and spend time with you always. Thank you, Drew. And I wanted to thank Rita for this beautiful, beautiful African violets. My mom was an African violet freak. They're hard to grow, but they're so beautiful and tender. So from my heart, thank you so much, Rita from the UK. And Debbie Solomon, I'm going to wring your neck. Good fruit. Thank you. That was from the Cherry Moon Farms, Organic Farms. Cherry Moon. I love the name. Good stuff. Thank you so much. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for the gifts. We appreciate them very much. I'm doing this video as a kind of a video that you can hand your loved ones, because I'm always asked and pressured to do a video for someone's father, mother, husband, or wife who is pressuring their loved one to do chemotherapy. And I think that it's important. The world must awaken to the barbaricness, the dark agey crap of administering chemo or radiation. Remember radiation, Sloan Kettering turned down radiation therapy when it first was introduced, said it damages tissue too much. Of course, I've said this before, you can get as much radiation therapy as you want. It's Sloan now. You know, it's all about the money in all these places, it looks like. But I think it is vital that we understand what cancer is before you understand how to treat it. You're talking about forcing loved ones to go through a cancer-causing treatment to treat what they've been diagnosed as cancer by medical doctors. And it is beyond time that each and every human being on this planet start learning the truth about what the medical doctors have been doing, about what they've been causing, and about what they've been claiming. And it will shock most of the world to find out the AMA is the most ignorant when it comes to health of all the healing modalities on this planet. They are the worst. They only understand treatment of diseases because that's how they're educated. And this is not so much on medical doctors as it is on the whole modality. You know, when you treat a symptom, you totally alienate the cause. And when you do not address the cause of any problem that you're having, it is always there. And so in the old days, you could suppress symptoms when they were at the acute or subacute. These are the basic beginning levels of things, acute and subacute levels. You could use pharmaceuticals, toxic pharmaceuticals, the symptoms would disappear, and you say, oh, look, a miracle, they were cured. Because these are diseases blamed on nature's bacterias and nature's virals and all this sort of thing, with no understanding of nature, no understanding of how God put this universe together and why these little creatures exist in the first place. If you don't understand the role of bacteria, then you fear. You fear what you do not understand. And it's unfortunately that the allopathic community chooses the focus from which they do. Theories that are bogus, ideas that are crazy. They don't understand anything. And the sad part about this is that so many of these problems and conditions that people are creating, they lump as autoimmune problems. Cancer, autoimmune, diabetes, autoimmune, even psoriasis, someone said autoimmune, and it's like, give me a break. There's no such thing as autoimmune. Autoimmune is when someone says to you that you have an autoimmune condition, then they have no clue to what you really have. They have no idea because there is no such thing as autoimmune problems. No such thing whatsoever. There is simply cause and effect. You're in a world where man judges good and bad. Not nature. Nature only has physics and chemistry, which are the supreme rulers in terms of sciences. And in science, there's cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. And for every cause, there is an opposite and equal effect. Jesus, we talked about this before, called that you reap what you sow. Buddha called it simply karma. And there's been many names through the different times of experiencing that which you create. So it's important that one stop and understand what in the world is going on with the human race. Why all these problems? Why all this inflammation? And I've got, what, how many videos up on this site? This explains totally, in a very simplistic manner, what causes all man's problems. You know, when someone tells you it isn't your lifestyle, it isn't what you eat, then you're talking to someone that's living in a world far, far away. They're living in their imagination. Because everything here is physics and chemistry. Everything blows back on you as you create it, as you eat it. It's just because the allopathic has very little understanding about health and nutrition that becomes a serious problem, especially when you tear down or you decay those that do. And this is nothing but elitist narcissism. And this has existed in the allopathic community and exists in communities where education is beyond the level that is required. Health is very, very simple. But to understand the cancer word is a total word made up by the AMA. It's not a disease. There's no such thing as diseases. Understand what's going on with people. Understand that in chemistry, there's only two sides to chemistry. In all chemistry, you can divide it up simply in two sides. One side of chemistry is base, or what they call alkaline. The other side is acid side of chemistry. It's simple. There's only two sides of chemistry. A look within the human body shows that all the tissues in the human body, whether you're talking about liver tissue, heart tissue, lung tissue, muscle tissue, bone tissue, skin tissue, doesn't matter. It's all made of cells. And these cells have to be fed. And these cells also have to be cleaned. If you consider a cell, what you have to do to every cell in your body, the same as a newborn infant that you would bring home from the hospital, which you have to feed them and you have to clean the waste from them. You have to do the same thing to every cell in your body, and you have roughly 100 trillion of them. To do these two feats, to feed and clean the human cell, you have two prime fluids that dominate the human body. We know blood because allopathic community is always talking about blood and blood workups. You can have a perfect blood workup right in front of your face and have tumors all through you. Why? Totally different system. Your body has a sewer system in it like no other. And where your house has only one septic tank, your body has hundreds of them. And these septic tanks are called lymph nodes. And they act just like a septic tank at your house with one exception. You have immune cells called macrophages that exist within the lymph nodes to break down damaged cells that have been transported to the lymph nodes because they've been damaged. This is why you will see cancer cells in your lymph nodes. That's where they're supposed to go. There is nowhere else for them to go. And they're supposed to go there because you have cells waiting to break them down. And then the waste from the cells and the cells that have been damaged can be broken down in the lymph nodes and then carried away to be eliminated. It is vital, if you have been diagnosed with the allopathic word of cancer, to understand what it is, because most people kill themselves because they don't understand what it is. And when you do, you'll understand why not chemo. And you'll understand then there's a crime going on here that's people been getting away with for a very long time. When nursing calls chemotherapy Drano, that should clue you in to just what you're up against. Matter of fact, if your nurses out there have been trained in IV therapy, which you all have, and you also are going to be trained with chemo, which I have, then you understand totally what's up. And when the nurse practitioner tells me, don't spill chemo on a patient's skin, and you ask them why not, they say it burns a hole in the skin. And then you ask, what's the skin made up of? And of course, cells. And then you say, well, then what about the introduction of this high toxic acid fluid into the venous system? And then, of course, how it destroys the vascular walls, all the veins that collapse. You know, a lot of people are not told, but a large percentage of people die from aortic aneurysms from now the introduction through a subclavian port right into the aorta. These guys have no qualms to kill people. No qualms to put this in you. If any of you out there think that chemotherapy is Jesus juice, why don't you go down and get you some? You'll have a whole different experience of chemotherapy. This little 17-year-old girl, after her second round, she booked. Because you all have to understand the acid side of chemistry and what acids do to the human body, what acids do to anything. Just go put some Coca-Cola on the paint of your car and leave it there and see if you're going to be real friendly with what that Coca-Cola is going to do to the paint on your car. And Coca-Cola is a 3 pH acid. Matter of fact, there's a lot of drinks that people are drinking that exist down within the same range as cellular wastes. Remember, every cell in your body consumes and eliminates. Just like your car consumes and eliminates, just like your animals consume and eliminate, just like your plants consume and eliminate, everything. This universe is a consuming and eliminating universe at one level or another, whether it be energy, chemistry, or whatever. So you must understand this because there's so many lies perpetrated out there, and particularly around cancer and chemo. Now, yes, this is an older study on chemo, but let me tell you, they did one last year, and I can't remember how many years. It showed just what it is, and I don't know how many of you need studies. Why don't you just go down to your oncologist's office and say, I want you to pour a little chemotherapy on my skin. I want to experience the reality of this. So for you fathers and mothers and husbands and wives that are pushing your kids or your loved ones into chemo, I want you to go down and get some of that Jesus juice and put it right on your skin. And then you say, I'm letting my loved one go through this. Now, a lot of you have heard of Berinsky, Dr. Berinsky in Texas. He was called the urine doc because he uses neoplasm type therapies. And the FDA came after him. He's a medical doctor, of course, and he was fairly famous for brain tumors and claimed about a 25% success rate, which is pretty good in an oncology type of setting. So the FDA came after him, and of course he had the money to fight him, and he won, and they wanted him to do studies, so he did studies. And what was great about the studies was that Berinsky demonstrated a 20 to 25% success rate with most cancers that are treatable with these, as opposed to oncology, and this was released last year, as opposed to oncology for after the 5-year mark, the golden 5-year mark, they were down to 6%. Oncology, where Berinsky was 20 to 25%. So for those that want their daughters or their wives or their husbands to go have chemo, you're sending your loved one into 5% success at living. 5%. Now, there's so many lies out there that now you hear 85, 65% people survived. Oh, really? Take a look at your TV. All of you guys know when movie stars get cancer and stuff because they broadcast it everywhere. How many of these people, these famous people that you know of, survived their chemo? 1 out of what? Exactly. You might see Donna Summers and the things that she did and stuff like that, but when you start looking up at some of these things, or Suzanne Summers, you'll see what they did. So, and it wasn't chemo, and it wasn't radiation. And you have to understand this is bad, bad stuff. So Cancer Centers of America, beautiful place. They roll out the red carpet. They even throw flowers in front of you while you walk up to their center. You'll get treated right there. They have naturopaths on board, what you hear. But basically the treatment's the same. Chemotherapy, that sort of thing. It's just that you're treated with a lot more respect because you're going to pay a much bigger bill. Right? Now, they have a little graph, or used to, right at the bottom of this TV screen that shows you their success. And if you lock on that, you'll see their success. Which is the first year, you can keep most people alive for a year. So some go right down and are dead within a few months on chemo. But, you know, I can tell you, I've dealt with cancers or what causes them for almost 50 years now. And our success rate here at helping you to understand your why the medical doctors diagnosed you with that word, but what really damaging your cells and how you fix that, most people here have a 90 to 95% success rate because they understand what's causing it and how you fix the problem, not how you treat the problem. You know, treating your problem generally ends in your death. So you have to really wake up to this, because there are some people that have survived chemo, but you're on the bottom of the list that do. You're one of the rare breeds that do. And sometimes it's just enough to knock out a tumor or something very simple. But let me tell you, that's not the rule. That's the exception. And if you're an exception, wanting to force your family members into it, you're not all here. Because there are serious problems. The average person dies from this, guys, dies from this. Why? Think about this, all right? You've got a bunch of cells that make up your body. Each of those cells requires nutrition, particularly carbon and oxygen, just like your car does. Carbon and oxygen. So carbohydrates is the #1 food for vertebrates. And then, of course, oxygen. Mix those two together, you get adenosine triphosphate, ATP. It's how you run your cells, right? So it's essential. Excuse me. But in the burning of all this chemistry that you ingest for all these different factors, from carriers to whatever, hormone precursors to everything else, all this chemistry has to be metabolized or utilized at some level or another. When these different utilization factors, whether it's oxidation, ionization, methylation, all different cycles of Krebs and all digestive cycles and all kinds of cycles in the body, all these cycles spin off acid waste. Acids are the byproducts of most activity. So this is why we're saying acid air. We got acid rain. And you'll hear this time and again. I told you about the National Geographic that was filming the Appalachian Trail. They came upon some park rangers testing the lake water. And National Geographic is asking, why are you testing this lake water? And they said, well, you know, you see that six-legged frog and the camera's going down like that? And they're going, whoa, what's that? He said, mutation. And we're seeing a lot of mutation in the fish and the frogs. So National Geographic obviously says, why? Acid rain. Acids are corrosive. If you're trying to be healthy under an acid moon, you're delusional. That's the moon that takes you back down to your fetal position, sucks the calcium out of you, fills you full of flat cholesterol, and then kills you. It's the acid side of chemistry you have to watch out for. Both sides of chemistry will get you, but it's always the center that's much more comfortable, right? Because there are beneficial acids. Estrogen is acidic, testosterone is acidic, but notice how they'll give you a Rumodex or tamoxifen, or on the male side, what do they call it? Lupron. All these suppress your acidic steroids. The problem in that is you suppress the adrenal glands. Suppress your adrenal glands, which controls your kidneys, and you lose kidney filtration even more. Which means that the system that's causing this problem is even locked tighter still. So you have to stop a minute, understand these are all lymphomas, and start asking, what is the gigantic lymph system within my body? Because most of you have never been taught that. You YouTubers have, because you're a cut above. You guys are open to health. You want to know truth. You guys are God people too. You're seeking the answers of life. But when you're sitting there and you're acting like a leaf blowing in the wind, when you move as people tell you to, you know, I've told you a story about a young lady that was brought over by a counselor from Hippocrates. She had a little pea-sized tumor in her left breast, I think it was, or right breast, can't remember, but little pea-sized tumor. Her husband wanted her to do chemo. I'm thinking, what? You got a little pea there. If anything, lump it out. Or pull it out with black salve. We can do that right now. And my husband wants me to go through chemo and stuff like this. And she was, I don't know, 20s, 30s, good-looking woman. I'm going, what the hell? I said, you're nuts. Well, I hadn't seen her, and I hadn't seen her, and I hadn't seen her in quite a while. And so Raul brought over some more people. And I said, bro, what's going on there? I haven't seen her in a while. Oh, she's dead. She's dead. I said, she's dead? Over a pea? She's dead? You must understand that people die from the treatment of cancers. They don't die from the cancers. I mean, this one study, it might be older, but it's still good today because nothing has changed under the sky. Acids are still acids, bases are still bases, physics is still physics, and your body's still a body made of cells with two major fluids, blood and lymph. Lymphomas tells you it's not in the blood problem, it's in the lymph is the problem. Understand your lymphatic system, and you must understand the medical community does not understand the lymph system. There is, however, as we've discussed on past videos, an elite medical group because, what is it, the International Society of Lymphologists. And these are cut above medical doctors, and I think Samuel West was a naturopath, I guess, of course. I don't know if he was a medical doctor, but they all belonged to this society which believed in the lymph system was the cause of all man's problems. Hear, hear, because it is. And it is simply because the lymph system is the system that has to deal with the acids and the waste from the cells. The blood doesn't. The blood is a nutritional carrier. However, what you dump in that blood, depending on the types of food you're eating, can make that blood acidic. And if it wasn't for your body's ability to steal calcium out of your vascular walls to neutralize these acids from all these meats and proteins, you all would be dead right now. Your body's not designed, the human body's not designed to deal with high-protein diets. It's a good way to kill yourself. It's a good way to lose your kidneys and give yourself colon cancers and stuff like that. Study after study after study. It's enough to say man has to start looking at what he's consuming, what chemistry he's bringing into his body. It's ridiculous to assume that you can eat anything and never have a problem, like a billy goat. That doesn't exist. Not at all. And for you beautiful YouTubers, you already know through self-experimentation that what you can and can't do, can't you? You see the blowback you get from that. But these videos aren't really for the YouTubers that are already doing these things. This video is for those mates or husbands and wives, fathers or mothers who think of forcing their children into chemo even when they're older. You know, you've got quite the opposite. You've got so many runners right now in America because it's like the Supreme Court of Connecticut forcing a 17-year-old into chemo. This is not Jesus juice. Understand your pHs. Life is nothing but pH factors at this level. Understand what pH is. Potential for hydrogen. pH means that's the acid or base levels of the different foods, of the different anything. Anything has pH factors to it. Everything does. Because everything is made of chemistry guided by physics. All chemistry is frequencies of electromagnetic energy. When you trace this back, you'll find beautiful and very eye-opening awarenesses. It's enough to say the lymph system. The lymph system is easy to understand. All the past haven't got there. Remember, we've been discussing the fact that they just found the new lymphatic system in the brain, a second, more aggressive lymphatic system in your brain that distributes the cerebral spinal fluid and actually uses that as a carrier of waste. How about the other one at the bottom of the spine, the one that distributes to the kidneys? That's where they miss. Because what you have is cells feeding their sewage into lymph nodes, and lymph nodes then taking that sewage full of bacteria, breaking down the acids, macrophages breaking down any damaged cells, and then off to the kidneys to be eliminated. Not liver, kidneys. You have to eliminate waste to the outside world. And you must have something in between the cells and the kidneys because cell wastes are around 3 pH. So take a big sip of Coca-Cola, and hold it in your mouth. And see how long you can hold it without burning your mucosa really bad. And the problem with this experiment is that your mouth immediately secretes alkaline enzymes and everything else to try to stop this acid. If you had no alkaline response in your mouth, you would sit there as the acid just chews your gum off, and you'd end up seeing a hole being chewed right through your gum just by holding Coca-Cola in your mouth. Oh, we swallow it, and that's okay. Our bowels, wait a minute, our bowels have a mucosa and everything too. Big trouble in Little Texas. Gatorade, 2.85 or 6.5. You got Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, all around the 3 pHs. Some dip down toward the 2s. Well, you're getting down close to hydrochloric acid, which is somewhere between 1 and 2. About the same pH of chemotherapy. Chemotherapy used to be closer to battery acid. Now it's real close to hydrochloric acid. The problem with that is you're taking an acid 10 to 50 times hotter than the acid that damaged the cells in the first place. So let me see here. If acid side of chemistry is the one damaging my cells, and it's coming from a scenario where I've damaged my kidneys on my high protein diets and my meat eating and all the food that I'm eating, I've damaged my kidneys and I can't filter anymore, which we'll discuss here in a minute. So therefore my sewer system's backing all these acids up, and now I've got acidosis. What's another word for acidosis? Inflammation. So when someone says you've got an itis, gastritis, colitis, enteritis, cystitis, bursitis, I've got an itis, that means you have inflammation. Well, in chemistry, in science, we call that acidosis because it's acids that are building up interstitially or in the body. Interstitial means around the cells. And it's simply cellular wastes that have to be eliminated through this sewer system, which is your main immune system, by the way. It's not autoimmune. It's your major immune system is your lymph system. Even your blood dumps what it doesn't want into the lymph system. Your lymph system is a place where you dump what you don't want, and your body breaks it down through the lymph nodes and then pees it out, or what else? Sweats it out. Your third kidney, your largest eliminative organ you have, the integumentary system, the skin. And you're just supposed to learn these things, especially, and this is more directed for you full-grown adults that don't know anything about chemo and you're pushing it on your children or your loved ones. You don't know what you're doing, and a lot of people have died with this. No, last year the AMA killed over over 1 million people in America, 450,000 in hospitals. So you're 1.5 million, and that can be doubled probably easily because I'm very aware, spent a lot of years in hospitals, so very aware of how things are dealt with there. So actual deaths, you're way up there. Way up there. Actual deaths from naturopaths and homeopaths. Of course, the Queen decides to do homeopathy because, in terms of treatment, it is the best system on the planet. But if you want to address the cause and you want to get rid of something, you use naturopathists, people that are naturopaths, not naturopathic physicians, naturopathists. Those are the people that don't recommend high proteins. They understand the body, the lymph system, and they're going to open up your kidney channels and your ability to sweat and open your system up and pull these tumors out of you and clean you up. Because tumors are just designed, it's just the body isolating all this acid for you to protect the cells. Because outside of a cell, acidosis is inflammation. Intracellular acidosis, inside the cell, that's when you start mutating. The DNA, the chromosomes, the mitochondria, you start breaking it down because acids are corrosive. Think of this. Bring home a little baby from the hospital, feed it, but don't change its diapers. What are you going to see down on the little bottom of the little baby? A rash, a bad rash, right? A burn, because you forgot to change the diaper in a timely manner. Why the burn? What about the urine burns? It's acidic. And it needs to be acidic. Your urine needs to be acidic. About 6 pH would be great. That's with good bacterial action. But those that chose to use antibiotics because they don't understand that bacteria is your friend, not your foe, because medical doctors don't understand how nature works, and they're the top killer of humans on the planet. I mean, you got to wake up to this. And you're sending your loved ones into this hellstorm of dark agey thinking with no remedy to get well, because nothing is focused on. And the diet is more protein, the very thing that brings you down, because there's a lack of understanding. We are the scientists. We're the ones that have to know the chemistry of the foods, the chemistry of your body, the chemistry of nature, how it all interacts. If you don't know that, then how can you call yourself a health professional? You can't. And especially when you're using something like chemotherapy to treat, that's ridiculous, because you don't come out of it. And the blowback, notice how they use the word metastasize. All your cancer moved on. Your cancer doesn't have a consciousness. It doesn't move from one cell to another cell in that way. Cancer, you can't take one cell, you can't take a uterine cell and make it a breast and cause breast cancer from a cancer cell. First of all, it can't get to the breast from there because it has to go through the lymph system and visit Mr. Lymph Node. So there's no way cells travel. The whole concept of cancer is idiocy and ridiculous. But when you understand acidosis and what that can do to your body, termination time, this is serious stuff. And sending your loved ones into chemo is sending them into their deathbed. Because chemo is not juice that makes you healthy. It's the same. It's hotter. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the philosophy is? Since your body's so acidic, and by the way, by the time you wake up to the word, the cancer word, this is your lymph system. That means your lymph system is backed up head to toe. You have a problem systemically. Cancer is a systemic problem if you're going to use their word, meaning your lymph system's backed up all over the place. If you see a hot spot jump up and here and there and you say, oh, now you got it in the bones, no. Chemo drives it even deeper into the body because it's hotter acid than the acid that's actually damaging the cell. Who would give an acid, first of all, for an acid condition, and then second of all, who would give a hotter acid that's 10 to 50 times hotter? You explain those things, I'd like to know that. Because this is serious stuff. Too many kids are getting killed and slaughtered. Too many adults are killing themselves over idiocy, over unconsciousness. Wake up. Because this is some serious stuff out there. And the human consciousness must wake up to this. It's a killing machine out there. And it's a heavy financial burden on the people. And it's a heyday allopathically. And you must wake up to this. Because how you treat your problems is your morals experience. And to force your loved ones, the most important thing you can do, because that's a karmic blow back to you. You make your loved one go through chemo and they die. Can you imagine your karma from that? Not good. You're going to go through the same thing. I mean, this is how God works. Not me. This is how God works. Look around. Understand karma. Understand Jesus. You reap what you sow. Understand physics. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. You don't treat acids with acids. If you're going to treat, then you use base chemistry. You use alkaline chemistry to fight acids. That's what neutralizes acids. You can't neutralize an acid with another acid. You only make it more acid. And if it's acids that are destroying the tissue and you're making it more acidic, what are you doing? You're not making it better. You see what I'm saying? This is serious stuff. For those of you that have great genes, some of you have survived that. You still haven't fixed the problem. And for those few of you that have lived, good, great. But it isn't the rule. It's the extreme exception. And I mean extreme exception. You know, my sister's second husband had prostate cancer, and they told him, well, we have a new procedure. And he said, well, what's that? He said, castration. I could give you 2 more years cutting those testicles right off. I don't know about that. Well, maybe I better, since you're telling me I only have a couple of months to live now. Stupid stuff. And then, I got 2 years with them cut off, so they did. They cut him right off. Well, My sister said he'd just go up and pee in the toilet and walk away, forget to zip up and everything else. He lost all desire for anything, and he died a month later. You've got to take the power of wellness in your own hands. That's why we do these videos, and we're probably the most successful clinic in the world. And you must learn how to regenerate tissue, what's causing all this acidosis, and simply how you fix it. Review our videos on the lymphatic system, because these are lymphomas. And these are not blood cancers, these are lymphatic cancers. There is no blood cancers. I mean, you might have some blood cells damaged, T cells, I've heard T cell lymphomas and stuff, but they put them under the orifice of lymphomas. Why? Because that's the system that deals with the acid side of chemistry. So for all of you contemplating chemo or radiation, you need to stop and think, or forcing someone into it that doesn't want it. That is not good for you or them, because that's going to blow back on you in God's way. And on them, you're forcing them to do something they don't want. You should support your loved ones, whatever path they choose. Because people don't die necessarily from chemo, they die from cancer, they die from chemo, the treatment of it. This study was done by the president of the American Chemical Society and another medical doctor. And they found, this is an older study, but there's nothing new under the sun, guys. Nothing new under the sun. Chemo hasn't gotten better. People's bodies haven't gotten better. It's worse. It's worse than this report now. Back then, back when this report was done, cancer was 1 in every 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7. Now it's every other one. It was 1 in 2 here a few years ago. And it's simply man's lymph system is going down. Man is a tropical species eating northern climate foods, high proteins, dairy products. You want to make a tumor grow? Any of you got tumors out there, just go suck down on some ice cream and milk and just watch your tumor. Or yogurt. So they found, long story short, they found that if you do nothing, you live a minimum of 12 and a half years. If you do chemo, up to 3 years. That's what this study found. And that you live 4 times longer. This medical doctor found that and this was in the 79 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was published in an article by Dr. Maurice Fox of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology on the diagnosis and treatment of breast cancer based upon studies conducted at the Harvard. So it's not like it's some Drew University or Taft University. Now, they found complete mastectomy was no better than a lumpectomy. 2, the diagnosis of breast cancer was twice as frequent in 75 than in 1935, meaning they haven't found anything to help. Because if you see cancer as a disease, you'd understand that it's the acid side of chemistry, and that the kidneys and the lymph nodes, all this control this whole thing, and that by changing your diet and working with a few herbs, you can actually open up the kidneys to filtrate. You can fix all that. You can get these tumors and the lymph nodes cleaned out, all the acids coming out, and cells can rebuild. Not a difficult thing. They also found that the earlier detection that you do, which is what they push, amounted to quicker treatment, of course, but earlier death. That's just what they found. And these were people, there's a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of them here. 1980, another one. It goes on and on and on. A lower mortality rate was found in patients who refused medical procedures. How lethal is chemo? See that lady's hand? That's a lady that spelled chemotherapy on her hand. Now, when chemo spills, and this is only a 5 cc spill, you got to call 911, the Occupational Environmental Safety Office as well. You've got to access, there has to be quarantined, protective overalls and that, and it tells how many times you have to wash the spill, and hydrogen peroxide goes on and on and on and on and on. So, your skin is tougher on the outside than it is inside. So if I give you some chemo and it burns a hole through your skin, what's it doing to your cells inside? And your body's made from cells. You destroy your cells, you're destroying your physical body. You destroy your physical body, you might as well just learn how the body travels and take another trip if you're not happy with this world. If you're happy with this world, learn the facts. Learn the truth about nutrition and health. Learn what foods your body's designed to eat as a Homo sapien. Learn what type of species you are as a Homo sapien. Are you a frugivore? Are you a herbivore? Are you an omnivore? Or are you a carnivore? I can give you 3 no's that you're not. You're not a herbivore. You're not a horse or cow or elephant. 2, you're not a dog, bear, chicken. That's an omnivore. And you're not a cat. You're a frugivore. And when you eat outside of that realm, you don't always feel good. And it's funny when we go back to fruit eating, how we can clean the body out and get all the lymph cleaned up, get the kidneys filtering, and get our tumors out and get ourselves well, isn't it? Then when you go to the neurological side, it's the only one we can get you out of wheelchairs and get you out of, with MS and spinal cord injuries. That level of fruit is the only one I've been able to be successful at getting rid of those problems for you and getting yourself up and out of those chairs. But it's just enough to say that this video is for those people that are forcing there or want to force there, because the stress of being diagnosed with cancer is bad enough, because most people think that they're going to die. That's a death sentence, when really they don't have the facts. They don't realize that most people die of cancer from the treatment of it, not from cancer itself. That's what CBS found, remember? That was only a few years ago. CBS did the same thing. They looked at all the cancers. They decided to look at prostate cancer. You could probably Google this. But for you all computers, you all can Google chemotherapies, radiations, and you'll see all the studies that were done. You'll see it. But just sit down. Just look at all these experimental chemotherapy groups. Here's a good one for you. We had one lad in a 432 experimental chemotherapy group. He had a lymphoma. His wife actually ran a health food store, a local health food store, and she heard about it, sent her husband over, which was in this group, experimental chemotherapy. Looked like a scarecrow. I think I have him on our cancer video. He looked like a scarecrow, but he had no more lymphoma left. So I would say good 5-10 years after that, a nurse came up to him and said, I remember you. You were in a group I oversaw. You were in this experimental chemotherapy group I was running with 432 people. He said, yes, I remember you. Yes, I was. She said, what are you doing? I mean, you look good. What's going on? He said, well, I don't have lymphoma anymore. He said, I got rid of that years ago. She said, you don't have lymphoma anymore? She said, everyone in the group's dead. Common. Wait a minute, 85% success with chemo, wait a minute. If you have that much success, why would you experiment with more chemo that has, well, 85% of those people should be alive. There was only one guy alive in that group, and he was only alive because he came over here and decided to learn what causes the tumors in him and how you back them out. But the rest of them are not alive because they trusted a narcissistic idiocy modality that's out of balance. And if you're not careful, it'll kill you too. So you must watch yourself at all times. I can't tell you how many people have died from just the simple use of antibiotics. Look at Cipro. A death rate hooked to it. There's fatal events hooked to simple pharmaceuticals, and the FDA allows them? Do you understand what world you're living in? So for you parents, or you wives, husbands, mothers, dads, you must give due respect to your children. Let them make their own choices and get a little smarter instead of pushing your children or your loved ones into chemo, the very thing that you fear. You fear their life. If you fear the life of your loved ones, you would never send them into chemo or radiation. That would be the worst thing you could ever do to a loved one, is send them into their death, because only 6% survive it. If they can prove 85%, then they're going against the FDA. They're going against all knowledge that we all have. Even the Cancer Centers of America aren't afraid to put their score down at the bottom. They do fairly well the first year, 85% or something, 6 years, 60 or something. It goes right on, whoa, sliding right down. 5th year, 6%. So you want to go to Las Vegas, you want to say, okay, I'm going to put my loved one in front of a firing squad. I have a 6% chance they won't hit her or him. I mean, this is all crazy. And so it's important that each and every one of you that are contemplating forcing your loved ones into this to wake up. Even you mothers are running with your children. I feel for you, and we're on your side. To force children into chemo, that is a violation of antitrust laws in this country. This is a violation of everything. It has set up themselves as a monopoly against the law. But no one is standing up. Well, it's coming. It's coming. Our association is going to be big and strong. And we're not going to put up with this anymore. This is ridiculous. So please, if you have any love for your loved ones, rethink chemo and radiation. Relearn what it really is. Learn what they're teaching you. And learn the truth of it. Study a little bit about chemistry, acid and base. Learn what that is. If you have to, experiment on yourself first. It's not Jesus juice. I love you guys. You guys take care of yourself. This wasn't meant to be a YouTuber video. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, but this is meant to be a video for those that are anticipating using chemo. And they're so brazen as to use chemo for things like psoriasis and things like this. So you're going to extremely kill. But you have to realize the World Health Organization, this is what gets me here. Here in this country, they use Arimidex, tamoxifen, Lupron to suppress. Remember we talked about that a minute ago? Well, the World Health Organization classifies tamoxifen and probably Arimidex, and of course that's going to go right along with the male one. Lupron is their carcinogenic. They're giving you cancer-causing substances to treat cancer. You see what's going on here? You've got to wake up, guys, because your loved ones deserve to be well and healthy, and so do you. Learn the truth about health and wellness. It's not difficult. It's quite simple. God didn't bring you down to this universe to make you have to go to college to learn about health. Matter of fact, those that do start to learn other things. In other words, generally when you go to school to learn the truth, you don't get the truth. You get other people's ideas and theories. You only get the truth when you get out in life and it beats you up a while. For you practitioners, you know the truth after you see a few thousand people. You start seeing things, and then when you start to see 100,000 people, that start to make a difference. You start to really begin to see how things go, how things work and don't work, what types of food you should use to get rid of things and what types of food you shouldn't use. I've learned this in all these years watching all of you detoxify yourselves. And we have a strict policy, do no harm. Can't say that with allopathic. That's the opposite. This might be a real bizarre video for you guys, but all I can say is we've got a serious problem out of control. And we must stop this. We're hurting, and the babies are being slaughtered from a lack of understanding, not just from the cancers, the neurological conditions, the digestive issues that these babies have. Take a look at the difference between mother's milk and cow's milk, and mother's milk and formulas in terms of nutrition. There's no protein in human mother's milk. Very little. The lipids aren't that high either, but there's very, very little protein compared to a cow. Why? Look at the growth rate of a baby calf, and protein is acidic. And that's all we do is stick humans on high-protein diets, the very thing you don't do. So all I can say is learn the truth, because your experience, not only in this lifetime but the next, plays a big factor on your health and how you treat others and what you create. Cause and effect. That's all you're experiencing. Whether you place it good or bad, that's up to you. That's man's definition. God says there's cause and there's effect. It's the only law that makes sense. It's the only law that runs creation the way it should be. Cause and effect. What goes out comes back. And you must learn that. And learn chemistry, the two sides of chemistry, acid and base. This is a base-dominant planet. This is a female planet. If you look at chemistry, the acids are the men, and the bases, or the alkaline chemistry, is the ladies. The ladies are the God peoples. The ladies are the dominant people. They need to be in chemistry on this planet, or this planet doesn't exist anymore. You can't live on an acid planet. Your body can't live in an acid medium. It starts to destroy itself because it's acidic. It's the acid that's chewing it up. It's trying. It pulls calcium, anything base, calcium, cholesterol. Remember, your lymphatic system is a lipid-based, a cholesterol-based system. Why do you think everybody has calcium problems and cholesterol problems? It's because they're on the acid side of chemistry. You're either on one of the two. And the balance in chemistry is to the base side. Always on a sustainable planet. If not, acids are too corrosive. Nothing can constantly live. Now, we've seen pictures of National Geographic and these little tube things way down in the deep ocean where this hot gases are coming out. Very acidic. Amazing, these little tube things are living down there. In an acid environment, anything human can't live. I mean, look what we can do with acids. But you're talking down toward the bottom end of the acid scale now with the chemotherapies and stuff. You're at the end of the scale that deteriorates and damages and tears apart tissue. And that's the game they're playing. That's not how you get well. That's not how you get inflammation out of you. These are not difficult things when you learn the role of your kidneys. Just because the medical doctors don't understand the role of kidneys doesn't mean you don't. So understand, most people die from kidney failure at one level or another. Your kidneys control the gigantic lymph system, and the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys control the kidneys. So this is a big, big deal, and there's not too many people in this world that doesn't have kidney and adrenal gland problems at one level or another. But you stop backing up your sewer system, expect to see inflammation and tumors and things like this. You can't treat that. You got to simply reverse how you're creating it. That's that simple. Change your diet into an alkaline diet, predominantly alkaline diet. Start fixing your kidneys, getting this body hydrated, because acids simply dehydrate you. That's why you're all dry, why you feel dry skin. It's dehydration, and that happens under the acid moon. You must get rid of that and hydrate yourself. And all this, it's a big deal to get yourself, because by the time you wake up and been diagnosed with cancer, you've been acidic for years. How is it now that we're having babies born with cancer cells in them? What is cancer cell? What is cancer? And there's only one medical doctor who can tell you that you have it. You can have an oncologist say it looks like, but there's only one medical doctor that can tell you that you have it. And who is that? That's a pathologist, right? Now, why the pathologist? Because he studies the pathology of a cell. He understands the cell. So what do you have to take to a pathologist to be diagnosed with cancer? A cell. That's why it's a bio, because tumors aren't cancer. Tumors is a pocket of fluid. It is cells that are cancerous. Well, I hate the name because the name isn't even relative. The cells are damaged and mutated. What would damage a poor little cell? Acids. There's only two sides of chemistry. Pick one, and your blood doesn't damage you. So base doesn't damage you at the closer to 7 level. Even the 9 level is not going to damage you, but you get up around 11, 12, 13, going to act just like an acid. Lye at one end and battery acid at another almost. And then there's even hotter. What was the hottest thing we found out there? -8 pH or 80 pH or something. This is no definition what that could be. I can't even imagine. Because anything that it would come in contact with would instantly be dissolved. That's what acids do. So these are big cases of acidosis. And you have to understand again how you create acidosis. And by eating acid-forming foods, you have to get rid of those. You got to put yourself on a base dominant diet. That's your fruits, your berries, your melons, and your vegetables. The problem with vegetables in detoxification is that you're using detoxification to get the body cleaned up. And that is a fruit, berry, and melon and water experience, not a vegetable experience. It's enough to say that your choices at any given time sets your pace for your future. And what do you want your future to be, or your loved ones? Do not act out of fear. Fear has killed a lot of bodies. Act out of awareness, out of being smart. There are some people out there, whether they're loved ones or not, that are so involved with cancer they're not going to make it anyway. But give them the opportunity to hook to God, because this is for those that can't make it. I'm going to hook you to God like you've never seen before. So I can just tell you, these are the things that's all good. So whether your loved one makes it or not, no one knows. But it's enough to say that by the time you're diagnosed with the C word, you're in big time trouble. So you just simply learn what's causing it, you reverse it and fix it. Those of us that have been doing this at these levels are way up in the 90 percentiles. Not the 6s, because you're treating something you don't understand. Who would treat something you don't understand? Who would fix something you don't understand? You can't. So you have to understand a few things if you want to understand man's problems, his health problems. And that is a little chemistry and physics. And the fact that not all food is edible by man. We're not billy goats. We are frugivores. We are primatish. We are perfectly designed for fruits, berries, and melons. We can deal with our salads, but not near as well as we can our fruits, berries, and melons. Salads are for herbivores. Those are your horses, your cows, and your elephants. It's funny when you go on a diet like that, everything disappears. Look at Dr. Oz. Took all those people to the zoo, put them all on raw, fruits, berries, melons, salads. All their symptoms started going away. You got to try it. But again, this is a video for those parents or mothers and fathers, loved ones, husbands and wives that are planning on sending their loved ones into Hellville. And you don't want to live with that when they don't make it, because they went for you instead of them. The one thing you don't want to do is send your loved one and make them do something that kills them when they don't want to do it. That's not a burden I want on my shoulders, just because you think it's good. Let each and every one learn, grow, and understand their choices. We all need to get on the same page here. This is not bashing AMA. This is truth. This is what's going on, and it's not pretty. We have serious, serious problems in our healthcare industry and in our government. We have serious fraud, serious corruption, serious everything. And that's because we didn't do anything about it. Well, it's time we all wake up and stop this, because it's almost too late anyway. The World Bank is making its moves. 92 fusion centers now. So it's getting ready to make its moves. We're sitting there like we're just bobbing our heads up and out of water. It's time you guys get your power back, and we start getting our this level into a level that's a little more desirable. We're terminating souls before they get in here almost. But think of the degradation of the human cell is so low that genetically we're producing excuse me, atypical cells or cancer cells, or what they call cancer cells. I mean, you have to understand how low that is. I think it was Turner and some scientists said that with the rate of cell degradation, there would be no human life after 2025 on this planet. Well, guess what? There's regeneration, guys. You can totally take a cell that's been morphodized and change it, rebuild it. There's a certain level you can't, but they're going to be dealt with the macrophages. Your body will reproduce new cells. But you have to learn what's causing that and how you turn that around. Well, life is ran by chemistry. You can't get away from chemistry. You live in it. This air is full of it. There's nothing void. I mean, you can smash some atoms together, and that's our biggest fear, of course, is creating a void. Then why do it? You know, man's just got this curious mind. It's enough to say you all need to get out of your mind and start looking about truth a little bit, and not all this propaganda and brainwashing and lies that are infiltrating our society, because it's out of control. No one's making anybody responsible. Anybody see how many lawsuits pharmaceutical companies have? Thousands and thousands of them, and they don't care because they make so much money that what's a little write-off here and there. It's sickening out there. It's sickening. Start waking up to the beauty of God and nature and herbs and good raw foods and things like this. Learn the truth about things. Learn the truth about who you really are and your ability to become so much more awake than where a lot of humans are now. But please, if you have any awareness at all, don't force your loved ones to go under the chemotherapy or radiation knife. Let them make their own choices. If they choose to do it, they choose to do it. But I suggest you all that are diagnosed with those sort of things, learn the truth of what it is. That's why all these videos I do for you guys, to wake you up for truth, because it's not good to see them come in after chemotherapy or radiation, and we get them lined up down the street like this, and they only have a few months or weeks to live. We get them lined up miles long like this. It must be that 15% they don't save, and the 85% that they do must. You have to understand that only 6%, according to the FDA, survive chemotherapy after 5 years. And mostly you're not one of them. There are some of you that have. And this particular video is addressing one particular person that has survived a bladder cancer. But this video is for every parent that's anticipating on forcing their loved ones to do these things, even when they're grown up. What works for one person in a scary situation like this doesn't work for everybody. Matter of fact, rare. So be very careful of the coming future. And take a look at your loved ones and whether they can go through something like that and come out at all. It's a nightmare from hell either way. But not when you learn the truth. When you learn the lymph system and acids and you learn what's causing this, then you're empowered to either help your loved one, or if you yourself have it, you can deal with it. For those that came through chemotherapy and are still living, you still haven't fixed your problem. You still have not fixed your problem. Chemotherapy doesn't cure anything. Matter of fact, it causes more cells to be damaged. Latest study last year, chemotherapy damages billions of cells. Oh, they're your next cancers. That's what a damaged cell turns to. So just understand all that and know that we're here, and we're here with love as much as we can. But I'm also very firm. Need to understand this, because man is spiraling out of control. And he has no help. And we're allowing the intellectual elitists to control everything. And they don't know the first thing because they're lost in ego. And so millions are being killed worldwide over some facade that we're in research to find the cure for all these diseases we created. There is none. There's no cure for any disease. Diseases do not exist. Chemistry and physics rule. And when you have a symptom, there's always a cause in chemistry and physics for that symptom. And you created it. Now, granted, you might have walked into the genetic body. Understanding genetics, very, very important. And understanding why the cell is degraded, the human cell is degraded at this level. But once you understand all that, then things become simple. And some of you might have some tough roads to haul when you wake up to that diagnosis. Because by the time you wake up, you must understand what that means, where your lymph system is at, where the acidosis is at in the human body when you're diagnosed with that. That's the problem, not the cancer itself. That's just damaged cells. It's your state of your body, your lymph system, including the kidneys and the skin, when you awake to this. You awaken to extreme lymphatic constipation. Extreme. And that means extreme interstitial dehydration. That means extreme burning of the cells. So, being a lipid system, you understand that lipids are the only level that can neutralize acidosis. Simple base chemistry, very difficult. Your basic electrolytes, of course, are always being burnt to fight this. This is why you see your electrolytes go down. Your chlorides and your calciums, your sodiums. You don't want to see your sodium starting to go down, but this is all involved in that system. That is your immune system. That is your sewer system. That is your lipid. Your lymph system is a lipid transport system, by the way. It is the reason for malabsorption. It is the reason for lupus, fibromyalgia, Lyme's. I mean, we can blame virals. We can blame bacteria. But no one has a problem curing them when they understand the lymph system. And these are just names medical doctors are giving them so they can treat them as diseases. And none of us out here can. We don't want to treat diseases. We don't want to live in the world of diseases because they're made up. We want reality. We want truth. Finally, humans must have truth established on this planet. We must put the flagpole of truth down in the ground here and start working ourselves out of this, because this planet is a shithouse mess. Killing women and kids over religious belief systems because you're one way and we're another. Wake up to the beauty of individuality and differences. That's the beauty of nature. It's good to see differences. We should hug each other's differences. We all don't want to look the same. We all should believe differently. Everything the same is not good. That's socialism. That's not God. God makes everything the individual that it is. It's the mind that likes to pull it together. I'm going to go on this video, and I apologize. I had to make this video just for those that are anticipating, so we can hand them a video. I think we'll put it up on YouTube, though, just so you see. But it's a very serious issue here. And it can enslave you and your loved one for lifetimes. That is a much bigger thing you have to look at. It's one thing to kill a human body. They come and go. All you're going to lose your bodies. I mean, this is just an atom rearrangement universe. So you're going to lose your bodies, but you never lose yourself. So it makes more sense now that you discover more of who you really are instead of playing with your bodies. That way you can survive your death. Or your transition, as I'd rather consider it, because you just transition from one area of God to another. It's a massive playground, creation is. But if you got things you want to do here and you want to stay on this rock spinning through space, then you must learn the laws of the rock, the laws of this universe. You can't just go haphazardly and trust a bunch of people that have no record of curing anything. Nothing like high blood pressure. A kid can cure high blood pressure. But the treatment of cancer, or the treatment of anything with chemotherapy, jail time, manslaughter. And by the time some of these docs go to jail for manslaughter, they'll stop doing it. Because this is serious stuff. This isn't candy we're playing with here. This is an acid beyond acids. And it'll take the skin right off of you. That's how you treat yourself? That's how you make yourself healthy and well? Think again. Much love to each and every one of you. And hug your loved ones. Support them in their emotional needs. Don't rip them in their emotional needs. Support them in their emotional needs. We're all here together, guys. And we're all here to help each other get well. And we can do it. We're all strong together. All right? So I love you. Thanks for the birthday gifts. Love you all. Thanks, Rita. Thanks, Debbie. You guys are love. All of you guys are loves. We're building an incredible group here. Keep it up. Keep it up. We're changing the world. And it's way beyond needed. Tired of seeing the babies slaughtered. Tired of seeing people slaughtered here when we can fix them. Easy. And there's some people that's going to work hard getting well. Some is not easy. I agree. Some of you are pretty advanced in your issues. Your body's advanced, not you. Start getting your spiritual side in order. For those of you that don't know whether you're going to live or die in terms of transitioning or leaving your body, then make your spirituality your focus. Make God and beauty and love and happiness your focus. And just in that focus, you might find yourself getting well. Because those are the energies you have to hook to, because those are the energies you left behind. Hook to the real healing power. And that's not medical and that's not pharmaceutical. That's God. And it's not a cliche. It's found in your herbs. It's found in your foods. It's found where you look for it. So I love you all. Have a great day. And I hope this helps some of you. Love you.